up? It's the next day. Hitting legs today, so we're about to go do that. But my mood has like kind of been ruined really because, I mean, I don't want to say ruined, but it's kind of put a little bit of a dampener because basically I have this ball machine that I've been trying to sell, it's like a tennis ball machine. I got it like probably 6 months ago, used it for like 2 months, and then it's kind of just been sitting in the garage. So I have it like listed on Facebook Marketplace right now, and I've been like trying to sell it. And like this guy messaged me today, and he's like wanting to buy it for the price that I listed it at, basically. Well, lighting in here is kind of messed up, but I got super excited. Like I'm like, oh, finally somebody's like trying to buy this, because it's not exactly like a super in demand object. Like one, not a lot of people. I guess tennis is probably like not the most popular sport, and two, like not everybody wants to cough up like $1,500 on a ball machine. So I like pulled it out. I got it like charging and everything. Like told him I was gonna send a demo video, so I was gonna go to the courts tonight and like record me hitting with it and stuff like that. And he was he's in Dallas, so he wanted to meet up halfway, and I was like, all right, I can make it to like Waco basically. So I was like planning for that. Plan on heading to Waco tomorrow, like in the afternoon and everything like that. And he's like, all right, like sounds good, just send me the video when you get a chance. And then he, like after everything, like we were talking for probably like 30 minutes straight, he messaged me and he's like, oh, is this the high speed model, or is it the regular model? And I was like, I'm not totally sure. It's the regular speed model. But like the top speed's like 68 miles per hour, it says in the manual. And he's like, oh, I'm actually looking for the high speed one, which is like 80 miles per hour. So thanks, but I'm gonna have to pass. And obviously like that's totally fine. Like it's not the one that he's looking for, and I can't really like hate on him for that, but it just kind of sucks because like I was excited, like $1,500 in my pocket versus this machine that doesn't get used at all. I got excited. Yeah, but basically right after that happened, I got a little bit upset, and I was like, you know what? I don't really feel like recording anything today. I'm just gonna go to the gym and live in sorrow basically. So I'm gonna head to the gym. I'll probably do a voiceover because I think I'm gonna piece this in with the stuff that I got from yesterday, because I didn't really work out, so I don't want to make that just like one video on its own. So yeah, we will go pound some cereal bars, get some water, and head to the gym. So we'll see you then. Got a quad-based leg day today. So starting off with pendulum squats. That one is honestly, I think probably the best like if I had to pick one leg exercise to do, I'd have to say pendulum squats. Just like the way that the resistance profile works for the quads to target them, and how you have just increased stability versus just a normal squat and everything like that, makes night and day difference. And it's like super easy to actually progressively overload on it and make sure you're using the proper consistent form. The problem with squats is if you're just doing free weight, free bar squats, it's really easy for your form to break down and make a lot of mistakes. I don't want to say make a lot of mistakes, but when your form breaks down, it's hard to keep consistent progressive overload. The goal is to do more weight or to do more reps, but if the form is being compromised, you're breaking down on different parts of the lift, that can potentially skew your results, and you might think you're progressively overloading when the weight goes up, but in reality you're not actually progressing in those exercises. So pendulum squats, if you don't have one of those, because not a lot of gyms have them, the Smith machine squat is also a good option. So highly recommend that if you're looking for some quad growth, because I've been tracking it, and I think so the last time that I was around 173 pounds, my quads were around 23 inches, and right now they're about 24 and a half, and I'm at 170, 171 right now. So I'm at the same weight, but my quads have like an inch on them, and an inch might not sound like much, but that's actually pretty significant if you think about it in terms of percent. That's like 5, since it's like an inch and a half bigger, it's like probably like 5 to 7% bigger. So good progress like overall and stuff like that. So I'll usually start off with that. Then I go into calves. I used to do calves I think that's like something everybody does. They'll train calves at the very end of their leg day, and that's okay depending on like what your strong points are. But for me, my calves are absolutely abysmal. Like I mean, my legs in general really need to be brought up pretty significantly, but my calves especially. And calves are definitely pretty genetically influenced, like on how big you're going to be able to get them. They're not necessarily the exact same as other muscle groups, but you definitely can grow them. And I have noticed growth in the past probably like 6 months of where I've actually learned how to properly train calves. And I'll probably go into that a little bit when I'm actually doing like my voiceover workout and stuff like that. But with the right techniques, you definitely can grow your calves. But for me, they are a massive lagging point. So I'm trying to bring those up, and that's why I throw them in right after my session of squats. And it kind of gives me like a little bit of my quads like a little bit of a breather before I go into the next quad exercise. Because right after that, I'll do the single-legged leg extension, and I'll do one side of that, then hop into hamstrings, and then finish off with hip abductors, whatever the one that you bring your hips in, basically, because that's really going to work the inner quad, and I think a lot of people overlook that part of their training too. So pretty simple, nothing too complicated for legs. That's like the whole thing in general for all of your training. It's really nothing too complicated. It's just like the simple movements, making sure you're getting adequate activation, and putting mechanical tension on the muscles that you want to be growing. So nothing too complicated, but yeah. The other thing is, like, I'm honestly kind of, I don't want to say dreading this leg day, but I'm starting to get to the point where I'm still progressing on all my lifts from workout to workout, but the progress is definitely slowing down a little bit. Like, it's not like insane jumps where I was like adding like 3 or 4 reps. Usually I'm trying to squeeze out like 1 more rep, maybe 2 if it's like a good day. And in the past, when my progress slows down to that rate, I feel like I kind of get discouraged, or I'm like, dude, this sucks. Like, I want to be getting stronger like a lot faster. But I think it's like an opportunity to like actually develop patience and be like, hey, I know that I might be, I don't want to say plateauing, but the growth might be slowing down, but that is a part of the process. And the people that are going to be successful are the people who are able to handle when things aren't just like flying off the handle and going crazy well. Like, you have to be able to push through those times when the progress maybe isn't the same that you want to see it. And I kind of changed my mentality a little bit of how I look at it. I tell myself, like, okay, so if I'm going up in weight really fast, I'm probably not actually building like an insane amount of muscle during that period, because it's not possible just for, in like the course of 2 days, I just put on so much more muscle that I'm able to do like 3 or 4 more reps of the same exercise. So I try to tell myself, like, during those periods where I'm like going up in weight a lot or going up in reps a lot, it's probably just because like my body is having a bunch of like neural adaptations, like getting better at the exercise, being able to like recruit more muscle fibers and stuff like that to like actually do the job. And that's not necessarily the growth. And I don't know if this is true, but I'm just trying to tell myself this so that I'm like more motivated to train at these times. So I tell myself that like those are the times when my body's just doing like neural and mental adaptations, and the part where you're really growing slowly, that's the part where surely the muscle has to be actually getting put on there, because when you run out of all those neural adaptations, your body has no other option but to actually put on more mass for you to be able to do those lifts and be able to progress in them. So I try to tell myself that the parts where I'm progressing really slow or even not experiencing progress at all, that means my body's like actually trying to, now it has to go into like the growth phase, like the growth mode where the muscle actually grows, and like that's the important part. So whether or not that's like supported by the literature and if that's actually true, I really don't know, but I think it's like a little bit of the whole like mind over body thing, because the power of your mind is incredible. Like, you can drastically change like your performance, your outlook on life, like everything like that, just like by changing the way that you look at things or framing things in a different way. And it doesn't even have to necessarily be true. Like, if you can gaslight yourself into thinking that something is the way it is when it's not actually that way, but it is beneficial to you, like, I think you should 100% do that. And maybe that's like a controversial thing, but I don't know, that's just like my take, and it seems to work for me. I don't know why this guy's trying to get into this lane so late, but we're nice out here. We let him in. Alrighty. We are starting off on the pendulum squat for this session because, again, it is quad focused. I'm really thankful that my gym has one of these because it's not really that often that you can find them. So when you do have them, definitely take advantage of it, especially like when they're a good brand, like the Atlantis brand has a really good resistance profile. So pretty much like the way the pendulum squat is going to work, and kind of how you can see in this video, I don't necessarily have the best ankle mobility. So when I'm going on squats normally, like a normal free bar squat or even the Smith machine squat, if my feet are sitting flat on the ground, I can't really get completely, um, I guess, like ass to grass, where your hamstrings are essentially touching your calves and you're achieving the maximum depth, just because my ankles really can't translate far enough to send my knees forward and be able to get into that depth position. So things like the pendulum squat or even using a plate below your feet when you're squatting can help get that get like a deeper range of motion essentially, uh, and then yeah, you'll get a deeper stretch on the quads and stuff like that, and train them in their full range of motion. So pretty much the way what makes the pendulum squats special is you can kind of see here how the resistance profile changes. So it's a little bit easier in the bottom, and it gets harder as you get towards the top, because when you get to the top of the rep, that's when like the weight is completely like gravity is perpendicular to the ground. So that's when it's going to be at its heaviest, and that properly aligns with the resistance profile that your quads have in terms of the force output they can generate. So good exercise. And then the second thing, this is what I was talking about, is I'm switching to calf press after that, and I'm just doing like single leg. And on this one, what I'm doing is I'm really focusing on like emphasizing the stretch at the bottom, which is not something that you have to do for every muscle group, but the calves in particular are something that responds well to like that stretch training basically. So I'll hold it in the stretch position, and instead of pushing up all the way like as far as I can go and like get um, full flexion of or flexion or extension, I forget. But instead of like going all the way up on essentially your tippy toes, I'm just going back to a neutral foot position to where my foot is neutral with the plate. And that's pretty much all the range of motion you need to actually grow your calves. And in the past, like when I was training them, I was doing like more of a higher rep scheme with like focusing on like the squeeze at the top and all that stuff. But that's really not what's important. And my calves weren't really growing before. But I've definitely noticed a significant amount of progress with them. Again, that take that with a don't take that with a grain of salt. Even though my calves are shitty, they're a little bit better shitty. So that's all I care about. But yeah. All right. So pretty much the next thing I move into is quad extensions, and either I'll do a single leg or I'll do it with both legs. I think for this one, I did both legs because one thing I have noticed is because my quads are progressing pretty quickly relatively on this exercise right now. Um, I noticed that my joints aren't necessarily recovering at the same rate that my legs are. So on some days I'll throw in just do a double leg instead of a single leg. So I'm not putting like as much stress on that knee joint and giving it some time to recover before I go back into the single leg stuff. But definitely do try to incorporate some single legged training because just because your legs are such a big muscle group that you can definitely benefit when you have like more effort to be able to just be driven to one side solely that you can focus on. But yeah, that's just something to throw in there. And then after that, we're going to move on to the hamstring curls. And I prefer the seated variant on this one just because you can train the hamstrings in a more lengthened position, which is where they're going to have a little bit better leverage and they're going to respond to training better. So if you notice, I'll kind of scoot back in the seat and I'll lean forward with my upper body a little bit. And when you're leaning forward, make sure you're not like just completely rounding your spine and like bending forward. You kind of want to keep your spine as neutral as possible while bending forward because that's what's going to put the hamstrings in like a deeper stretch position. The other thing that you want to take into consideration when you're doing this exercise is lining up your knee joint with essentially what the joint of rotation is on the machine. So I'll throw up an arrow on there so you can see. And essentially, I'm just going to like line my knees up with this, and that way we're going to be in like the most advantageous position to give the hamstrings the best leverage and get the best growth out of them. So yeah, you can definitely throw in lying hamstring curls if that's something that you enjoy doing. And it's always good to have like some variation. But overall, I would say that this is going to be a little bit superior. That's absolutely not to say that you can't do lying hamstring curls and get good results with them, because I know plenty of people that do that. But yeah, I just find this one to be a little bit more stable. You can kind of get locked in and stuff. So the next thing I'm moving on to is going to be the hip adductors. I got that wrong on the uh, the video earlier, but yeah, pretty much a lot of people will overlook kind of like the inner part of their quads, which is going to be the adductors, and they kind of forget to train them. But it's actually really important to do that because they contribute to a lot of the like mass and size that you actually see in your leg. And a lot of people are worried about getting a really nice wide like quad sweep, like their outer quads and stuff. But you kind of can create an illusion of just like overall, and not even just an illusion, you'll add size to your quads, but it can kind of create the illusion of a better sweep if you have a more developed inner quad sweep. Um, Sorry, not inner quad sweep, just adductors. So I would highly recommend adding these in. And same, I train this pretty heavy. I'll try to stay in like the 6 to 8 rep range and focus on getting a stretch because I definitely do think that this muscle group is one that benefits from a longer length position when you're training. So just focusing on a little bit of a slower eccentric than I normally do, getting that stretch, and then really trying to push and contract. These ones for me, they get really sore, so I'll pretty much only do them on one of my leg days instead of two. But hopefully, as I start training them more frequently, I can get that up to 2 times a week. But yeah, at the end, I kind of just threw in some seated calf press uh, just for fun. This is honestly kind of a useless exercise. The other calf exercise I did, like this straight legged one, is definitely a significantly better option. And this is kind of redundant. I shouldn't have really done this, but kind of just wanted to try it out and see how it felt. It did not feel anywhere near as good as the other exercise, so I will not be doing it again. But yeah, that's pretty much it for leg day. Again, you don't really gotta like fry your legs to like an insane amount. As long as you're pushing with intensity, like you should be pretty good. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be the end of the video. Uh, and yeah, I think next, I don't know what the next video is going to be yet, but uh, I'll see you guys later.